So let's dive into something that's, well, a pretty shocking paradox, right at the heart of the world's largest democracy. It really makes you ask a critical question. What happens to a country when the very people you choose to make the laws are, in huge numbers, accused of breaking them?
Just take a look at this number for a second. 46%. Before I even tell you what it is, just let that sink in.
That's what it is. Almost half, nearly 1 in 2 of the lawmakers just elected to India's parliament have criminal cases pending against them. And that, right there, is the big mystery we're going to try and unravel in this explainer. I mean, how is this even possible? Why does this keep happening? And what in the world does it mean for the health of a democracy?
Okay, so the first thing we really need to get our heads around is that this isn't some new, shocking development from this year's election. No, this is a systemic issue, and the data shows it's actually been getting worse for decades. Just look at this trend line. The number of members of parliament with pending criminal cases has pretty much doubled in just 20 years. It's climbed all the way from 24% back in 2004 to this new record of 46%. That's not a blip, it's a consistent and frankly an alarming pattern. So the question is, what's driving it?
Well, our first big clue, as it so often is to follow the money. To really get why candidates with criminal records get picked, you first have to understand what it even takes to be a serious candidate in India today. And the answer, in a word, money. Lots of it.
And the numbers here are just stark. A candidate who is a crorepati, basically a millionaire, has almost a 20% chance of winning an election. Compare that to a candidate with less than that, their win rate is under 1%. With the cost of elections going through the roof, having a ton of money isn't just an edge, it's practically the price of admission. But what happens when you add a criminal record into that equation?
Okay, you have to see this because it's pretty mind-boggling. The data shows that having a criminal record more than triples your chances of winning an election. A candidate with a totally clean record has about a 4% chance of winning, but a candidate with a criminal record, their chances jump to over 15%. This points to a really powerful and, deeply strange connection between what people call muscle and actually winning elections. So that just raises an even bigger question, right? Given those numbers, why on earth would political parties, the people who are supposed to be the gatekeepers of our democracy, actively go out and nominate candidates with criminal backgrounds? Well, the answer is a kind of cold, hard calculation.
And what's really fascinating here is that this isn't about one party. Look at this, from the ruling BJP to the opposition INC and all the big regional players. Fielding candidates with criminal cases is a strategy that cuts across the entire political spectrum. The parties need people who can pay for their own expensive campaigns and who have the muscle to get out the vote and win. At the end of the day, it's a strategy driven by one simple, powerful idea: winnability.
But that just pushes the question down the road, doesn't it? Okay, parties pick them because they win. But why do people, regular citizens, voters, actually choose to elect someone who's been accused of serious crimes? Are they just not informed? Or is there something else going on entirely? This is where we get to the other side of the equation. The demand.
And the answer, a lot of experts think, lies in something called the Robin Hood theory. See, in places where the government institutions are weak or maybe they're corrupt and just don't deliver for people, a politician's criminal reputation can, bizarrely, become a kind of badge of honor. It's a signal to voters that, hey, this is someone who works outside that broken system, someone with the power to actually get things done for our community, especially when the official way failed.
This quote, wow, it just perfectly captures that mindset. It's this raw, almost primal logic. When you feel like the system is rigged against you, it might actually seem rational to choose a strongman who promises to be your protector, your champion, even if, or maybe because, they're willing to break the law to do it.
So we've got parties supplying these candidates, and we have voters demanding them. But what allows this whole cycle to just keep going, year after year? For that, you have to look at the legal framework itself. It's a system that's just full of loopholes, which, together, create a culture of almost complete impunity for politicians.
And here is the absolute key. It's a subtle difference in the law, but it changes everything. Right now, a politician only gets disqualified after they are convicted and sentenced. But India's justice system can be incredibly slow. Cases can drag on for 10, 15, even 20 years. This means a politician can get elected, serve multiple terms, all while a serious criminal case just sits in the courts. The proposed reform would move that disqualification point way earlier in the process, to when a judge formally frames the charges. And it's not just that one loophole either. The whole system has problems. You've got those massive judicial delays, you've got a real lack of political will to change anything, weak penalties if you lie on your disclosure forms, and an election commission that doesn't even have the power to punish parties that keep fielding these candidates. It's a system that basically enables the problem at every single turn.
So, is this just how it's always going to be? Well, despite how bleak all this sounds, there's a real battle for reform happening. It's just not being led by the politicians, but by activists in civil society and, very importantly, by the judiciary.
Over the last couple of decades, you've seen India's Supreme Court step in time and time again. They established the voters' right to know, which is why candidates have to disclose all this stuff in the first place. They got rid of a rule that let convicted politicians just hang on to their seats while they appealed. And just recently, they ordered parties to publicly explain why they picked a candidate with a criminal record over someone with a clean one. But that one big change, the one that would disqualify them much earlier, that's a law, and it's still waiting to be passed by the parliamentarians themselves.
And all of this leaves us with one final, really tough question that gets to the very core of this whole paradox. If voters are choosing lawbreakers because they feel the state itself is broken, if parties are nominating them simply because they win, and if the legal system is too slow to stop any of it, can you really just legislate the strongman away with technical fixes? Or does the real problem go much, much deeper, into the fundamental trust or lack of it between citizens and the state they live in?